This is the life. Tell the boss I say I'm not coming in.
WEFM, the new fresh sound.
Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Welcome back, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The time is now 8:10. You're listening to Ariane with me. It's Christal, and we are Activated Mornings this morning. Right now, unfortunately, we have to switch to a very serious and ongoing problem we have here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And this this conversation is really motivated based on conversation that Opposition MP Daniel Cummins, when speaking in Parliament, he said that young girls giving birth is far too frequent. I'm here reading an article from Searchlight newspaper where it says that the opposition parliamentarian called on the government to put mechanisms in place that can really address the vexing issue of sexual offenses in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Cummins made the call on Thursday, April 4th, 2024, during his contribution to the debate in Parliament on an amendment to the sexual offences laws. The amendments, which were passed, allow for stiffer penalties to be meted out to persons convicted of sex crimes in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Cummins, who is a member of Parliament for the constituency of West Kingstown, expressed concern about sex crimes committed on underage girls. He said, for me as a man, as a parent, the number of occurrences in this country of young girls going to the hospital and delivering children is far too frequent. And I don't know if you remember, based on last year's report, there was either a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old that gave birth. 10-year-old that gave birth. Cummins went on to say that that in most of these cases, the persons who impregnated the little girls are not held accountable. Cummins recommended that where an underage girl gets pregnant and delivers a baby, that child must become a ward of the state of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Additionally, he is also suggesting that members of the girl's household be subject to DNA testing where there is reasonable ground of suspicion in that home. Listen, I should play the round of applause effect for that. Cummins pointed out that if the DNA test confirm that there is a connection between the suspect and the child, then that individual must be charged for the crime. In circumstances, Cummins said that the state should provide for welfare of mother and child. Where possible, he said the state should also ensure that the father is also a major contributor to the welfare of that child. He also called for the state to seize assets belonging to the father if he is of means, so that the mother and child will benefit. The opposition MP said his recommendations were made after very careful consideration. He said he do believe that in our society we need to send the right signal to act as a deterrent. Recent reports indicate that a 10-year-old girl, which I was correct, gave birth at hospital. Searchlight article report that this matter was highlighted at the 28th perinatal conference, during which OBGYN Dr. Sharina Slater presented data on pregnancies recorded among girls aged 10 to 14 years of age for a specific period. Additionally, it was revealed that a total of 191 teens gave birth in 2023. The bill, which was passed on Thursday, amends Chapter 171 of the Criminal Code of the Laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Under this amended law, a person convicted of having sexual intercourse with a girl under the age of 15 can now face a maximum of 15 years in prison. Thoughts?
That was a mouthful.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into this, I want to send condolences to the Nice Radio family on the passing of one of their announcers yesterday. Before I forget. He's absolutely correct. First thing he's correct with is we need to send an extremely strong message to the society concerning rape, sexual offenses, and further impregnation of our teenage girls. A call is coming through. Let's take it. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, the dynamic Christal Oliver. I have to respond when I hear people like you can speak so forthright. I was not even aware that West Kingston MP Daniel Cummins had made such a powerful statement. And that's when I hear you just said what you said, I have to call and tell you, you're on the right track. You are on the right. How could I didn't even know we had a 10-year-old pregnancy in this country. Lord have his mercy.
Last year, there.
No, but that's why people have to do certain things, And I agree. Daniel Cummins is a parliamentarian. He gets a lot of licks, right? Deservedly or undeservedly. But when you make such a powerful statement like that, you just can't show cold water on that. But of course, knowing the politics of this country, because he's in the opposition, he may not get that kind of applause or whatever, or support for what he said there. But I want to hear the minister who is responsible to be in government. I would like to hear a response from the minister of government responsible for this kind of whatever is happening.
That's Brewster.
It's like a crime. It's a criminal offense when a child, 10 years old. How that happen, boy? How could that happen? You're some big, and these men should be identified. I'm speaking as a man. You're some big, powerful, or hard man. How could you impregnate a 10-year-old child? I'm very passionate about that.
Remember, we don't know who the father is, huh?
All those who want to crucify me. Recently, I heard in St. Lucia, the government of Philip Pierre, as Prime Minister, have decided to invite the opposition or calling on the opposition to be a part of some effort, meeting, conference, or whatever they propose to have. To look at the same thing that we are suffering from here. Well, let me say this. This will never happen in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Never. Where the government is going to call on the opposition, because the first thing you have to take into account, the Prime Minister say he not talk to the opposition leader, and that for me is one of the most stupid, dumbest statements that was ever made. That you ain't talking to the opposition leader. Anyhow, before I get crucified, and I ain't got anyhow, sweet Jesus, look down upon St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He's gone, he's really gone astray. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sweet. And by extension, the rest of the world. Another thing that Cummins, I think he's not wrong for highlighting is what happens to the father.
Mm-hmm.
So the girls, these teenage girls become pregnant, and it's like a bunch of Marys, no father around. Nobody wants to say who. How do we get these girls to speak and say exactly what happened? Are they afraid? Are they ashamed? What are the circumstances leading up to? Has it been a case where the man in this story has threatened these teenage girls? I think we need to go a step further and try to figure out exactly who should be held accountable, because these children need to be taken care of. You are placing babies in the hands of a child to be raised, and you see how that can be if it's not done properly. These girls are not deprived, but they're slowed down in terms of education and advancement especially if there is nobody in the home or in their circle to assist them. They're girls, they're little girls. It's hard enough for big people who catching the nenen, let alone a child who has not completed CXCs as yet, who may be struggling in school, who has not gone to A-level college. And we see the rates of the world right now. We see where the world is going. You have to have your papers. Then what? And the father just running about in this place, gallivanting, possibly impregnating other girls. Monkey said the world not level. Get to the bottom of these things, man.
Another person or persons who should be held accountable for these.
Parents?
Parents! There are a lot of parents here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that are encouraging a lot of nonsense. There are a lot of parents in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that are prostituting the children. There are a lot of parents in St. Vincent and the Grenadines where a man say, oh, I'm going to buy your fridge, or I'm going to buy your stove, or I'm going to do this, or buy your vehicle, or do that. And they allow them to be with the underage daughters. A lot of this happening in villages and people tend to turn the other eye. Well, look the other way, sorry. A lot of nonsense are happening and we do not hold the parents accountable. And it's absolutely disgusting.
We need to step up on that too. I saw on social media, right? And it irritated me to my core. Somebody put up a video and a photograph of a man who has for years been accused of either harassing, luring, or sexually assaulting girls for years. Everybody under the comment section, he's still doing that, he's still in that. But he has never gone to jail. He has never been charged. But everybody knows. Everybody knows. And it's not the first time. There was a time when there was a video that went viral a couple of years ago, within the last 5 years. Here we go. After something is something and something. And people on the comment section again can see, whether by experience or hearing it, XYZ about this individual. No charges. How is it that you... Anyways, let me take it down a notch.
No, carry it up.
No, let me take it down a notch.
Carry it up.
Because when you're in this situation and when you're out, two totally different things. And it is understandable how a victim would take a very long time to come forward and say who and say what.
Yeah,
that's understandable, right?
We're not talking about the victims.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
Let me just put that out there as well. But for the adults in the situation, right?
That's the problem.
The people in the community, the people who are around, the villagers are supposed to be raising the child, not exploiting the child and allowing that child to be abused. And you know it. You just as bad. It doesn't matter whether it's your blood or not. You're supposed to stand up for who cannot stand up for themselves. You're supposed to do it. Because it could be knocking at your doorstep. Regardless of what. It's a child. They're vulnerable. Let them enjoy their youth. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You are lactating. You have to be responsible. You have to go through the rigors of motherhood at that age. And for big old hardback man, if it were in fact a big old hardback man, and in some of these cases, it is a big old hardback man, how can you look down at a child and get turned on?
I always ask that, and even some of these college students, some of them ain't even hygienic. Were you watching a little girl?
Father, can you hear me?
But again,
God knows
I watch a man hit a woman, a slap in front of she mother and sleep in she mother house. Wait.
Wow.
In Sweet St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Wait. Listen, parents has encouraged nonsense.
Parents, right? But sometimes you'll be going through some things. But there are certain situations where you're not supposed to settle at all. You're not supposed to compromise. You're not supposed to even think. You're not supposed to. Violence, physical abuse, mental abuse, verbal abuse, financial abuse even. As hard as it can be, you're not supposed to compromise on those things. You're not supposed to put your children up. You're not supposed to prostitute your children. Let your children enjoy life. Let your children grow up to be healthy adults society will continue to degrade. The moral fabric will continue to degenerate because a lot of these adults are walking around with a lot of trauma because they were sexually abused when they were young. We tend to cast an eye and look at young women who are promiscuous. We tend to look at them and judge them, but you don't know their backstory. You don't know why they're making the choices that they are making. It could very well be that they were abused and they just don't care anymore because they never went through therapy. They never healed themselves. Too much. And to our little boys too. It's not just girls. Yes, we're talking about teenage pregnancy and 100 plus for 2023.
Christal, let me share a story with you. Currently, right, generally speaking, and we saw it in the last ruling related to LGBTQ, where the justice said the homosexual behavior does not reflect the moral situation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, or the customs there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, right? And whenever it is that somebody pops up and they are homosexual or a lesbian, usually people don't care, but then we need to look at where some of these things stem from, and a lot of it stem from sexual abuse. I know of a situation where a young boy was molested by a much older sibling. He then in turn goes to an all-boys school. Won't say which one. And now is involved with another student in the school. The parents have been called in. Situation is bleak. They don't know how to deal with it because these children are now fully sexually active. There are conversations where they're quite descriptive in the sexual acts that they'd like to perform on each other. And it all stems from what? It all stems from what?
That's a discussion, boy. Could go down a rabbit hole with that one.
There's a lot to unpack from that one thing. There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, man. These traumatized adults, these pedophilias that we know, people know. Report them, man. You are the adult. If you see something, what does the Ministry of National Mobilization say? They used to have an ad running. If you see something, you suspect something, open your mouth and say something. I have not said it in a long time. You know. Look out for the vulnerable people. You know. Some of them are not strong enough to open their mouths and speak. Some of them have been threatened. Their lives have been threatened. Whether it is that the person only said it to just keep them quiet, they don't know that. Some of them are walking around feeling very hurt and they don't know who to talk to. And you just might be saving somebody else down the line because we have created an environment where we are making these abusers feel extremely comfortable. That is why they continue to do it. They will continue to do it. When you see it the first time, nip it in the bud.
Now, I want to end this segment saying opposition leader also, Godwin Friday, had called for a review of the age of consent. He wanted to move from 15 to 18. Said that in reviewing the bill, he noticed that the age of consent wasn't included and it should be included. He said that too many stories are stories of heartache and heartbreak, and the stories on IWN. There are too many stories of heartache and heartbreak that could be avoided. I hope that the publication of the increased penalties will initiate a serious and urgent discussion, broadly speaking, that will send a message that enough is enough. We as a society, we are going to deal with this problem. He said that sexual offenses are not just a problem of individual or a particular family. He said it is not normal behavior to be targeting young girls and vulnerable women to exploit for sexual pleasure because of their particular circumstances. He said the behavior is reprehensible and should be denounced, punished, and by any means necessary and available to us be prevented. He said the opposition, they're making strong, valid points on this. And I do think that it is grounds for us as a society to reflect on the current status when it comes to children, sexual abuse, sexual offenses, both male and female, here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The time is now 8:30. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be back here on 99.9, the clean, fresh sound.
Sparrows, 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 run around, look your